Good morning, freedom fighters. It is 7:48 East Coast time, November 11th, 2024. First thing I noticed this morning, offshore of France and England, Spain and Portugal, what I believe is geoengineering ships, and I want to go over a few of these ships today. These squiggly lines are ships, not aircraft. We just left Zoom Earth, now we're on windy.com. Very distinct lines from ships pumping out material. I have two of these vessels. Here's also chemtrails happening at the exact same time. Very large chemtrail operation inside this atmospheric river. These programs must be shut down immediately. But instead of these programs being shut down, they are censoring the internet. Several videos I have posted about how they've taken over every secret organization and our governments has been removed from the internet. End Times Production had two incredible videos. I was about to record the longest one, but both of them has been removed. But I have already saved one of the shorter ones that will explain a lot. Please stay tuned for the bonus film. But this is individual lines chemtrailing out this atmospheric river. Undeniable. This is aircraft traffic here. The black lines are just the shadow of the chemtrail from the sun shining through to the bottom deck, which it looks like a cloud layer. But these ships are putting out massive amounts of material. Oh, there they are. At the exact same time. We can go back 2 hours. They barely make any progress. They're moving, 10 miles an hour, 12 miles an hour. I have commercial fish out of the Mississippi River since 1995. These vessels do not put out any kind of smoke or condensation trails. Black smoke is diesel, white smoke is water inside your engine, and blue smoke is oils got inside your cylinders. That is the only smoke. You can see squiggly lines all in this material. These operations are ginormous geoengineering operations, taking dozens of ships to hundreds of aircraft at one single time for one weather system. Please stay tuned for the truth. I want to show you these aircraft are very available for sale. Billionaires with unbelievable amount of funding. I want to show you the machine that does the ripples, that pushes this weather in any direction. Stand by for the truth for the most censored topic on the planet, weather control. I showed yesterday where NOLA is talking about spraying chemicals to cool the planet, but greenhouse effect is where smoke traps in heat. When I studied the last ice age, all major volcanoes went off at the same time and it melted all the ice. It's not going to cool us by spraying this material. It traps in heat. Stand by. To trillionaire companies, billionaire companies like BlackRock that is controlling every aspect of our lives, these vessels, these aircraft and vessels are dirt cheap. They could buy thousands of them. They are trillionaires, literally. Their system contains trillions of dollars, unlimited funds. This is just one of two photos I have of these devices. This is not normal coming out of any ship for any reason. This is what is called bunker ships because they are burning a type of fuel oil that is releasing clouds to produce rain. We showed NASA's experimental device in Mississippi that creates rain as well. It's the same concept. Greenpeace obviously knows about these devices. Only one of the two burners is burning on this vessel. It has nothing to do with the main ship's engine. These are ships that creates clouds, what I think I'm seeing in the Atlantic Ocean at this moment. Then they can use that material and create atmospheric spins because that material is magnetic and electrifying, that they can control the atmosphere with these devices. And they come on many different vessels and forms. And satellites themselves can have these radio transmitting devices. The atmospheric rivers that they create is tremendous, and it has flooded areas like Spain over and over again. Once these areas, so-called atmospheric river, gets over a place, it's devastating. Charles Hatfield made it rain in 24 hours, like 200 inches in a desert in 1928 or 1930. Weather control is nothing new. And it is very much global. This is in Australia 4 hours and 13 minutes ago as the sun was setting in Australia. It was 3 a.m., 4 a.m. our time. As our sun is about to come up in Florida, it was setting in Australia. You can see the very common X from the chemtrails. This is a geoengineering operation in Australia. Sorry about that, I thought it was loaded. You can see the ripples from the machine. Looks like they sprayed through the night. Major electrical storms. Australia is going into summer as we are going into winter in the northern hemisphere. Even the southern part of South America is going into summer. It's the tilt of the earth towards the sun, and we're tilted away from the sun. I don't even know if people even understand why we have winter. But off subject here, stand by. Let me get back on the weather. Also a chemtrail operation in Iran and Afghanistan. This is 2 hours ago. As the sun is setting in Afghanistan, definitely a heavy chemtrail operation right this minute. A little more blurred in this area, but it's definitely chemtrails. I want to go over some very unusual radar signals going on right now, and I think, let's see, hang on one second. Then when I want to get to the video, very important video. I almost forgot. Here is a chemtrail vessel. I don't even know what to call them. But it was written in Spanish. Oh, that was weird. But it's some kind of chemtrail vessel. Not sure what it is. So a ship with antennas to generate clouds with rain. That's loud music with it. Sorry for being so raw. I had this all kind of set up, but it went away. Sorry, it wouldn't really work. There it goes. That is crazy, my friends. What kind of ship is that? It looks like it does have burners on there, doesn't it? I'm going to play it. It's just the music's real low. Let me try to turn it down. Sorry for being so raw, guys, but I just want this information out. There's so much incredible information here. All right. Wow, guys, they could really put out some incredible material. And is that Turkey? Not sure. Be China for all I know. Oh my goodness, people. They created some incredible stuff. Like I said, unlimited funding. If they can think it up, they can build it. Stand by for an incredible video of the truth of what they've done to us. And I cannot believe they removed this man's videos. He did such a great job. End Times Production does incredible work, but this is 3 videos recently about our government they have removed of his videos. Stand by for truth. Some very unusual radar signals. I almost forgot to show you, but to me, these devices created this rain here. This looks very unusual to me, my friends. Why would they amp the radar up at that time? Well, I didn't even notice the second. We're about to get a cold front here in Florida here in the next few days. And 86, 87, 88. I don't even think they're giving us the true temperature. My truck said it was 91. It's amazing how much they lie. And how much they're censoring us. I'm going to be removed very soon. I can't believe they even allow me to speak at all. We're in trouble, my friends, and I ain't even talking about a little bit of trouble. We're in bad, bad trouble. Stand by for some incredible truth. How deep this rabbit hole really goes. Cannot believe they removed this man's videos. They're so good. It says the video is not publicly available. I'm sure soon I won't be available. These aircraft spraying us is real. This has nothing to do with ballast tanks. This is a chemtrail aircraft. Looks like a 737. But they've removed a lot of the weather videos from overseas too, for some reason. Just weather videos. I don't even know why. This biblical storm hit Spain. It's not available. It was just another storm video. Here's the spin of the northern and southern hemisphere. If somebody like to see it. It's really cool. Cards. Censoring the internet, my friend. They don't want y'all to know the truth. But here, let's check out some more truth. This was an End Times production video. They removed it. But it's very important. Please stand by. Thank you to the Warriors at 13 minutes. And sorry for being so raw, but it is the truth and only the truth here.
Imagine a world where nothing is random, and major events that happen worldwide were written down hundreds of years ago. What you're about to hear was recorded in 1967, and it perfectly describes the world we live in today.
What was the secret?
The all-seeing eye, symbols of the guardians of the treasure.
Recorded by Myron C. Fagan, a famous Hollywood writer who rose through the ranks of the Hollywood elite, uncovering some nasty secrets along the way. He made it his life's work to expose the darkness that he personally saw with his own 2 eyes. This recording is a culmination of his life's work, and through a historical lens, he reveals what's been hiding in the shadows for hundreds of years. What you're about to hear is not conspiracy theory, rather is documented historical fact that holds up to the most rigid scrutiny. And without further ado, I bring you the Illuminati and the Council on Foreign Relations.
The question of how and why the Illuminati is the crux of the great conspiracy to destroy the sovereignty of the United States and the enslavement of the American people within a UN one-world dictatorship is a complete and unknown mystery to the vast majority of the American people. The reason for this unawareness of the frightening danger to our country and to the entire free world is simple. The masterminds behind this great conspiracy have absolute control of all of our mass communications media, especially television, the radio, the press, and Hollywood.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal?
We do have people who submit pieces to two American journals.
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks?
This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to the national news services, AP and UPI?
Well, again, I think we're getting into the kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I'd prefer to handle in executive session.
We all know that our State Department, the Pentagon, and the White House have brazenly proclaimed that they have the right and the power to manage the news, to tell us not the truth, but what they want us to believe. They have seized that power on orders from their masters of the great conspiracy. And the objective is to brainwash the people into accepting the phony peace bait to transform the United States into an enslaved unit of the United Nations one world government. Let me clarify the meaning of the expression, "He is a liberal." The enemy, meaning the one world conspirators, have seized upon that word liberal as a cover-up for their activities. It sounds so innocent and so humanitarian to be liberal. This satanic plot was launched back in the 1760s when it first came into existence under the name of the Illuminati. This Illuminati was organized by one Adam Weishaupt, born a Jew, who was converted to Catholicism and became a Catholic priest, and then, at the behest of the then newly organized House of Rothschild, defected and organized the Illuminati. Naturally, the Rothschilds financed that operation. And every war since then, beginning with the French Revolution, has been promoted by the Illuminati, operating under various names and guises. I say under various names and guises because after the Illuminati was exposed and became too notorious, Weishaupt and his co-conspirators began to operate under various other names. In the United States, immediately after World War I, they set up what they called the Council on Foreign Relations, commonly referred to as the CFR. And this CFR is actually the Illuminati in the United States. Perhaps the most vital directive in Weishaupt's plan was to obtain absolute control of the press, at that time the only mass communications media, to distribute information to the public, so that all news and information could be slanted, so that the masses could be convinced that a one-world government is the only solution to our many and varied problems. Now do you know who owns and controls our mass communications media? I'll tell you, practically all the movie lots in Hollywood is owned by the Lehmans, Kuhn Loeb and Company, Goldman Sachs, and other internationalist bankers. All the national radio and TV channels in the nation are owned and controlled by those same internationalist bankers. The same is true of every chain of metropolitan newspapers and magazines, also of the press wire services, such as Associated Press, United Press International, etc. The supposed heads of all those media are merely the fronts, for the internationalist bankers who in turn compose the hierarchy of the CFR, today's Illuminati in America. Now can you understand why the Pentagon's press agent Sylvester so brazenly proclaimed that the government has the right to lie to the people? What he really meant was that our CFR-controlled government had the power to lie to and be believed by the brainwashed American people. And let's again go back to the first days of the Illuminati. In 1785, the Bavarian government outlawed the Illuminati and closed the lodges of the Grand Orient. In 1786, they published all the details of the conspiracy. The English title of that publication is The Original Writings of the Order and Sect of the Illuminati. Copies of the entire conspiracy were sent to all the heads of church and state in Europe. But the power of the Illuminati, which was actually the power of the Rothschilds, was so great that this warning was ignored. Nevertheless, Illuminati became a dirty word, and it went underground. At the same time, Weishaupt ordered Illuminists to infiltrate into the lodges of Blue Masonry and form their own secret societies within all secret societies. Only Masons who proved themselves internationalists and those whose conduct proved they had defected from God were initiated into the Illuminati. Thenceforth, the conspirators donned the cloak of philanthropy and humanitarianism to conceal their revolutionary and subversive activities, and that all that secrecy emphasizes the power of the masterminds of the Illuminati to prevent such terrible events of history from being taught in our schools. In 1834, the Italian revolutionary leader Giuseppe Mazzini was selected by the Illuminati to direct their revolutionary program throughout the world. He served in that capacity until he died in 1872. But some years before he died, Mazzini had enticed an American general named Albert Pike into the Illuminati. Pike was fascinated by the idea of a one-world government, and ultimately he became the head of this Luciferian conspiracy. Between 1859 and 1871, Pike, worked out a military blueprint for 3 world wars and various revolutions throughout the world, which he considered would forward the conspiracy to its final stage in the 20th century. Again, I remind that these conspirators were never concerned with immediate success. They always operated on a long-range view. Pike did most of his work in his home in Little Rock, Arkansas. But a few years later, when the Illuminati's lodges of the Grand Orient became suspect and repudiated because of Mazzini's revolutionary activities in Europe, Pike organized what he called the New and Reformed Palladian Rite. He set up 3 supreme councils, one in Charleston, South Carolina, one in Rome, Italy, and the 3rd in Berlin, Germany. He had Mazzini establish 23 subordinate councils in strategic locations throughout the world. These have been the secret headquarters of the world revolutionary movement ever since. Long before Marconi invented radio, the scientists in the Illuminati had found the means for Pike and the heads of his councils to communicate secretly. It was the discovery of that secret that enabled intelligence officers to understand how apparently unrelated incidents, one such as the assassination of an Austrian prince at Sarajevo, took place simultaneously throughout the world, which developed into a war or a revolution. Pike's plan was as simple as it has proved effective. It called for communism, Nazism, political Zionism, and other international movements be organized and used to foment 3 global world wars and at least 2 major revolutions. The First World War was to be fought so as to enable the Illuminati to destroy Tsarism in Russia as vowed by Rothschild after the Tsar had torpedoed his scheme at the Congress in Vienna, and to transform Russia into a stronghold of atheistic communism. The differences stirred up by agents of the Illuminati between the British and German empires were to be used to foment this war. After the war would be ended, communism was to be built up and used to destroy other governments and weaken religions. World War II, when and if necessary, was to be fomented by using the controversies between fascists and political Zionists. During this World War II, international communism was to be built up until it equaled in strength that of united Christendom. When it reached that point, it was to be contained and kept in check until required for the final social cataclysm. As we know now, Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin put that exact policy into effect, and Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, and Johnson continued that same exact policy. World War III is to be fomented by using the so-called controversies the agents of the Illuminati, operating under whatever new name, are now stirring up between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Muslim world. That war is to be directed in such a manner that all of Islam and political Zionism, Israel, will destroy each other, while at the same time the remaining nations, once more divided on this issue, will be forced to fight themselves into a state of complete exhaustion, physically, mentally, spiritually, and economically. Now, can any thinking person doubt that the intrigue now going on in the Near, Middle, and Far East is designed to accomplish that satanic objective? Pike himself foretold all this in a statement he made to Mazzini on August 15, 1871. Pike stated that after World War III is ended, those who will inspire to undisputed world domination will provoke the greatest social cataclysm the world has ever known. Quoting his own words, taken from the letter he wrote to Mazzini, and which letter is now catalogued in the British Museum in London, England, he said, "We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a great social cataclysm which in all its horror will show clearly to all nations the effect of absolute atheism, the origin of savagery and of most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the people forced to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitudes disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will be from that moment on without direction and leadership, and anxious for an ideal but without knowledge where to send its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out into public view, a manifestation which will result from a general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time." When Mazzini died in 1872, Pike made another Italian revolutionary leader named Adrian Lemmi his successor. Lemmi, in turn, was succeeded by Lenin and Trotsky, then by Stalin. The revolutionary activities of all those men were financed by British, French, German, and American international bankers, all of them dominated by the House of Rothschild. We are supposed to believe that the international bankers of today, like the money changers of Christ's day, are only the tools or agents of the great conspiracy, but actually they are the masterminds behind all of it. While the general public has been brainwashed by all the mass communications media into believing that communism is a movement of the so-called workers, the actual fact is that both British and American intelligence officers have authentic documentary evidence that international liberals operating through their international banking houses, particularly the House of Rothschild, have financed both sides in every war and revolution since 1776. Those who today comprise the conspiracy, the CFR in the United States, direct our governments, whom they hold in usury through such methods as the Federal Reserve System in America, to fight wars such as Vietnam, created by the United Nations, so as to further Pike's Illuminati plans to bring the world to that stage of the conspiracy when atheistic communism and the whole of Christianity can be forced into an all-out Third World War within each remaining nation, as well as on an international scale. Now let me show you how our federal government and the American people have been sucked into the one world takeover plot of the Illuminati Great Conspiracy. And always bear in mind that the United Nations was created to become the housing for that one world so-called liberal conspiracy. The real foundations of the plot for the takeover of the United States were laid during the period of our Civil War. Not that Weishaupt and the earlier masterminds had ever overlooked the New World. Weishaupt had his agents planted over here as far back as the Revolutionary War. But George Washington was more than a match for them. It was during the Civil War that the conspirators launched their first concrete efforts. We know that Judah Benjamin, chief advisor of Jefferson Davis, was a Rothschild agent. We also know that there were Rothschild agents planted in Abraham Lincoln's cabinet who tried to sell him into a financial dealing with the House of Rothschild. But old Abe saw through the scheme and bluntly rejected it, thereby incurring the undying enmity of the Rothschilds. Investigation of the assassination of Lincoln revealed that the assassin, Booth, was a member of a secret conspiratorial group. Because there were a number of highly important government officials involved, the name of the group was never revealed, and it became a mystery, exactly as the assassination of Jack Kennedy still is a mystery. Anyway, the ending of the Civil War destroyed, temporarily, all chances of the House of Rothschild to get a clutch on our money system, such as they had acquired in Britain and other nations in Europe. I say temporarily because the Rothschilds and the masterminds of the conspiracy never quit. So they had to start from scratch, but they lost no time in getting started. Shortly after the Civil War, a young immigrant who called himself Jacob H. Schiff arrived in New York. Jacob was a young man with a mission for the House of Rothschild. Jacob was the son of a rabbi, born in one of Rothschild's houses in Frankfurt, Germany. I won't go deeply into his background. The important point is that Rothschild recognized in him not only a potential money wizard, but more important, he also saw the latent Machiavellian qualities in Jacob that could, as it did, make him an invaluable functionary in the great one-world conspiracy. After a comparatively brief training period in the Rothschilds' London bank, Jacob left for America with instructions to buy into a banking house, which was to be the springboard to acquire control of the money system of the United States. Actually, Jacob came here to carry out 4 specific assignments. Number 1, and most important, was to acquire control of America's money system. Number 2, find desirable men who, for a price, would be willing to serve as stooges for the great conspiracy and promote them into high places in our federal government, our Congress, in the U.S. Supreme Court, and all federal agencies. Number 3, create minority group strife throughout the nations, particularly between whites and blacks. Number 4, create a movement to destroy religion in the United States, but Christianity to be the chief target. The headquarters of the great conspiracy in the late 1700s was in Frankfurt, Germany, where the House of Rothschild had been established by Mayer Anschelm, who adopted the Rothschild name and linked together other international financiers who had literally sold their souls to the devil. After the Bavarian government's exposure in 1786, the conspirators moved their headquarters to Switzerland, then to London. Since World War II, after Jacob Schiff, the Rothschilds' boy in America, died, the headquarters of the American branch has been in the Harold Pratt Building, New York, and the Rockefellers, originally protégés of Schiff, have taken over the manipulation of finances in America for the Illuminati. In the final phases of the conspiracy, the one world government will consist of the king dictator, head of the United Nations, the CFR, and a few billionaires, economists, and scientists who have proved their devotion to the great conspiracy. All others are to be integrated into a vast conglomeration of mongrelized humanity, actually slaves.
What you just heard was a very small piece of that recording. The full recording is well over 2 hours in length and is widely available online. Just Google Myron Fagan CFR or Myron Fagan Illuminati and you can find several versions of it. Please leave a comment below and tell us what you think about this. And also, don't forget to hit that like button. Until next time, thank you all for watching. God bless you all.
And what's crazy, that video has
Shalom,
been
everyone.
removed. Huh? Oh, I see. It was the longer version that was removed. So the original one is still on here. Very good people to go visit End Times Production. Incredible work here. So the long version got taken out. Thank you to the Warriors at 37 minutes. Let's check out another one of his. This is another good one. Stand by. Let me get it set up. This is one day ago from End Times Production. I started it. I did not finish it. I'll finish it with you. Here. Stand by. Let's check it out. These are the people who controls the world. These investment groups are worth as much as countries.
What I'm about to tell you is beyond comprehension. It's the kind of thing that makes your blood run cold when you realize how deep this rabbit hole goes. Today, I'm talking about the real rulers of the world. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, the big three asset managers who are puppet masters pulling the strings of the entire global economy. Welcome to the shadow economy. BlackRock controls $10.6 trillion in assets. You heard me right, trillions. That's more than half the GDP of the entire United States, folks. This isn't just a big company. This is a super entity, a shadowy colossus, operating behind the scenes. And I'm telling you right now, it's not your money they're controlling, it's your lives. You might think, just investing money, right? It's not like they own it. Wrong. They don't need to own it to control it. This is financial warfare at its finest, people. They've perfected a technique called passive investing, a loophole that allows them to buy up shares in nearly every major company across the board. They hold pieces of everything: Amazon, Apple, Google, you name it. They have stock in 95% of Fortune 500 companies, and they claim they're just passive, just going along for the ride. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street are sitting on top of your pension funds, your 401ks, your insurance savings, the money you've been slaving away for your whole life. They're holding it, they're using it, and you get zero say in what they do with it. It's like a pyramid scheme, but worse, because this time, the pyramid is the entire financial system. They use these index funds and ETFs to buy small stakes in every company, which might sound harmless, but here's the kicker. When you own 5% of a company and everyone else owns fractions of a percent, you're the biggest player at the table. And guess what? The votes, they get the votes. Your retirement savings are the bargaining chips for BlackRock's power plays. This isn't investing, this is universal ownership. They don't have a stake in the game. They own the entire casino. When you look at the big picture, it's clear. We're not dealing with a financial firm. We're dealing with an empire. BlackRock's strategy is to own a slice of everything so that they're always winning, no matter which companies rise or fall. It's a new kind of monopoly, a neo-monopoly that transcends traditional competition. Think about it. If they own pieces of all the major airlines, all the big tech companies, all the major banks, then they don't care which one wins because they profit either way. This isn't capitalism, folks. This is something far more sinister. It's like a financial octopus. Its tentacles wrapped around every sector, squeezing tighter and tighter. Why would they want control over every aspect of the economy? Because it's not about the money, folks. It's about the control. This is a move straight out of the globalist playbook. The same playbook used by the World Economic Forum. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, isn't just a finance guy. He's a globalist insider, rubbing elbows with Klaus Schwab, pushing for ESG scores, and advocating for stakeholder capitalism, which is just fancy talk for centralized control. And here's the kicker. These guys aren't accountable to anyone. They've created a closed-loop system where they own shares in each other. That's right. BlackRock's biggest investors are Vanguard and State Street, and vice versa. It's an endless money go-round, a self-reinforcing feedback loop of power and influence. It's the ultimate financial power grab, and the average American is completely clueless about it. We've established that BlackRock isn't just an asset manager. They're the puppet masters, quietly manipulating the strings of the global economy. Now, we're diving into their secret weapon, the revolving door between BlackRock and the US government. This isn't some far-fetched conspiracy theory. This is documented fact, and the implications are terrifying. Let's break this down. BlackRock is so powerful that in 2008, during the financial crisis, the US government didn't turn to a bank for help. They turned to BlackRock. They were brought in to help manage the bailout of Bear Stearns and AIG. That's right. Instead of being regulated like the mega banks they overshadow, they were invited to play the role of savior. And do you know what happens when you become the go-to fixer for financial disasters? You get access, folks. You get influence. Larry Fink, the head honcho of BlackRock, didn't just stop at helping with the bailout. He started planting his people in high-level positions across the government. There's a revolving door spinning at warp speed between BlackRock, the Treasury Department, the Federal Reserve, and even the White House. Since 2004, at least 84 former government officials and central bankers have found a cushy landing at BlackRock. You think that's a coincidence? Let's talk about Larry Fink himself. He's not just the CEO of a big company. He's a globalist insider, a kingmaker. He sits on the board of the World Economic Forum, rubbing elbows with Klaus Schwab and the rest of the elites who are planning the Great Reset. You remember that, right? The Great Reset is about resetting the world's economy into a controlled system where they own everything. And you own nothing. Fink tried to get himself appointed as Hillary Clinton's Treasury Secretary in 2016. He wasn't just vying for power. He was preparing to be the gatekeeper of American finance. And it gets worse. BlackRock has direct ties to the Federal Reserve, which, let's be honest, is neither federal nor a reserve. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Fed turned to BlackRock again to help administer emergency lending programs. This means BlackRock was essentially printing money and deciding where it goes. Imagine that. The same company managing your pension fund is also deciding how much money gets pumped into the economy. This isn't free market capitalism, folks. This is financial fascism. Now, here's the part that should really get your blood boiling. In 2008, after they played a central role in managing the bailout, Congress realized that these asset managers were too big to fail. They wanted to regulate them like banks, because they control more money than any bank on earth. But what did BlackRock do? They doubled their lobbying spending and ran a super targeted ad campaign in Washington, D.C., pushing back against any attempts to regulate them. And here's the kicker. BlackRock gets to self-certify their compliance with passive investment rules. That's right. They get to audit themselves. It's like giving a thief the keys to the bank and telling him to guard the vault. They submit letters every year declaring they're passive investors and don't need to be regulated like banks. It's a legal loophole, folks, and they're exploiting it to the max. It's financial anarchy, and they're the ones making the rules. But here's the thing. It's not just Washington, folks. BlackRock has global connections. They've got ties to central banks in Canada, Europe, and even the IMF. The IMF, by the way, is pushing for a central bank digital currency that would give governments control over every dollar you spend. And who do you think will help manage this new digital financial system? You guessed it. BlackRock. This is the global financial coup, the quiet takeover of the world's economic systems by a few mega corporations and their elite partners in government. And it's not just happening in America, it's happening worldwide. BlackRock isn't just a company, it's a globalist tool, a financial weapon being used to shape the future without your consent. BlackRock owns a piece of Amazon, Google, and Facebook, and these companies own the digital infrastructure we all rely on. They control what you see, what you hear, and how you interact online. It's the perfect storm for total control. And they've got their tentacles in everything: airlines, banks, tech companies, and even the food you eat. But what's the real cost of all this control? How does it impact you, the average American who's just trying to make ends meet? Let's dig into the great squeeze, a financial stranglehold that's bleeding us dry. The squeeze on wages and prices. You ever wonder why everything feels more expensive these days, yet your paycheck isn't stretching as far? It's not your imagination. This is by design, folks. BlackRock and their partners in the Big Three, Vanguard and State Street, have stakes in every major company you can think of, from your local grocery store to the tech giants that control your phone. They're all on the same payroll. Here's what's happening. These asset managers are pushing for maximum corporate profits at any cost, and that cost is passed directly onto you. They've got a direct incentive to squeeze workers and raise prices across the board because they control the entire supply chain. Look at the airlines. The Big Three own pieces of every major airline. You think they're interested in lowering ticket prices? No way. They make more money by keeping fares high and cutting costs, which means fewer staff, crammed flights, and higher prices for you. And it's not just airlines. Take a look at the big retail brands: Nike, Adidas, Under Armour. They're all part of BlackRock's portfolio. They don't care which brand wins because they own them all. Competition has become a theater of illusion, a fake battle where no matter who you choose, the profits end up in the same place. It's a neo-monopoly, a new form of monopoly where companies don't need to merge because they're already controlled by the same puppet masters. Back in the day, owning shares meant having a voice. You could vote on corporate decisions, hold executives accountable, and actually have a say in the direction of a company. That's been erased, folks. Today, BlackRock and the other asset managers have consolidated that power. Your 401k, your pension fund, it's all just fuel for their voting power. And what do they vote for? More executive bonuses, more stock buybacks, and less money going into the pockets of hardworking Americans. Let's talk about stock buybacks for a second. This is where companies use their profits to buy back their own shares instead of reinvesting in the business or raising wages. It's a way to artificially inflate stock prices, making the rich even richer while regular employees get left in the dust. And who's cheering this on from the sidelines? BlackRock, because higher stock prices mean higher management fees and bigger profits for them. This is a rigged game, folks, and the house always wins. Here's where it gets even darker. Universal ownership isn't just about holding shares in every company. It's about creating a network of control that eliminates real competition. BlackRock's strategy isn't to bet on the winning horse, it's to own the entire racetrack. They hold major stakes in all the big players in every sector: tech, retail, banking, airlines, energy. It's a web of influence so extensive that it's nearly impossible for any outsider to compete. Think about this. If BlackRock owns significant shares in both Nike and Adidas, why would they want these companies to engage in a price war? They wouldn't. It's better for their bottom line if the companies keep prices high and split the market. This is why everything from sneakers to cereal costs more today. It's not inflation, it's price fixing at the highest levels, disguised as, quote, market trends. And now we get to the end game, folks. This isn't just about profits. This is about control, plain and simple. BlackRock isn't just managing money, they're shaping policy, influence over the Federal Reserve, the IMF, and the World Economic Forum puts them in the driver's seat of the global financial system. They're pushing for things like central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, which would give the government total control over your money. You step out of line, they freeze your account. This is the financial equivalent of the Patriot Act, giving them complete surveillance over your spending. Larry Fink has been vocal about stakeholder capitalism, which sounds nice on paper, but is just a Trojan horse for centralized economic control. It's the same ideology behind the Great Reset. You will own nothing, and you will be happy. Who's going to own everything then? The asset managers, the financial elites, the very people who've been pulling the strings. You might be sitting there thinking, this sounds hopeless, what can we do? These asset managers operate in the shadows, counting on the fact that most people have no idea what's going on. It's time to shine a light on their tactics, expose their influence, and push back against this financial tyranny. We need real oversight. We need regulations that treat these asset managers like the banks they are, holding them accountable for their outsized control over our economy. We need to take back our shareholder rights, demand transparency, and start making noise before it's too late. Because if we don't, we're looking at a future where the middle class is obliterated. The economy is centrally controlled, and freedom as we know it is nothing but a distant memory.
Thank you to the Warriors at 51 minutes. We can all see the superinflation that has taken place just in 4 or 5 years. You can see what he's talking about. And the quality has went to zero. They should be all ashamed of themselves. Let me know who finished this really long video. Sad where we have sold our souls. My fish houses have sold their souls. Like, companies that has sold out, like Wanchi's Fish Company in the East Coast that has been bought by these people and locked the doors. They didn't keep it open. They just shut it down. Louisiana, the picking houses that picks the small shrimp for factory, factory shrimp is what we called it. What I called it. They bought the factory picking house and shut the doors, locked it up. Our fish houses in Alaska was bought up. Our prices went from $1.17, $1.15 for chum salmon to, at the end last year was 17 cents, and we got 50 cents this year. Destroyed us with a stroke of a pen. All planned. Commercial fishermen standing by. Please prepare for the starvation I see coming. They will starve. Literally millions will starve this time. World War II, I seen where they starved 5 million just in one city alone. Never fired a shot, starved, shut their supplies off and starved. Hundreds of millions may starve this time. Commercial fishermen standing by. You'll have a good morning, a good day, a good evening, and a good night. We're all on different timelines. Commercial fisherman out.